That's it. That's a wrap on Season 2, everybody. Thanks for the great times. Conkelder, you did a great job holding that camera steady. Lantern, your lighting was top notch. I'll see y'all next time.
Andrew, where are you going? We still have one more episode left to do.
One more episode? Rosemary, I must have got hit with amnesia because I don't have any ideas for a final episode.
Well, quit acting like a wimpod. We cannot leave these trainers hanging without giving them an awesome final episode. I was thinking, what if we gave them top 10 tips and tricks on how to play the Pokemon trading card game? Think you can handle that?
Sure, how about tip number 1? Don't try to flake out on the final episode of Top Deck Academy, or Rosemary will call you a wimpod.
I mean, seriously.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. How about I take half and you take half?
Sounds like a plan. I think I've got some really great tips and tricks to share, and I can't wait to get it started.
Then let's get into it. Conch Elder, keep that camera steady because we got one more episode to go for Season 2 of Top Deck Academy. Tip number 1, always bring a backup. Having a backup plan is important, especially in the Pokemon trading card game. Establishing a backup attacker means finding a Pokemon and building it up with enough energy to attack before your attacker in the active spot gets knocked out. It's helpful to use search cards like Quick Ball and Level Ball to find a new attacker and ready it on the bench so that it's ready to promote when needed. In an ideal game, you always have a backup ready on the bench when your active Pokemon gets knocked out. But that's not always the case, which leads us to our next tip.
Tip number 2, promote a Pokemon with free retreat. Like Andrew was saying, when playing a game of Pokemon, your Pokemon will eventually get knocked out.
Rosemary, I feel like my Pokemon are always getting knocked out.
It's okay, it happens. But when it does, you want to give yourself the most options during your turn as possible. The best thing you can do when a Pokemon gets knocked out is to promote a Pokemon that has free retreat. By promoting a Pokemon with no retreat cost, you make it so that you don't have to decide on an attacker until the final stages of the turn. Not all decks play Pokemon that have free retreat, so trying a Pokemon with an air balloon attached is the next best thing. If you don't have a Pokemon with free retreat, then you have to think very carefully about which Pokemon you send into the active spot.
Tip number 3, manage your bench. Your bench is one of the most important resources in the Pokemon TCG. You only get 5 bench spots to work with alongside your active Pokemon, so it's really important to use them wisely.
Oh, just like a team of 6 in the Pokemon world.
Exactly. You want to make sure that you have enough space for a backup attacker, as well as any support Pokemon you may need throughout the match. One mistake that players often make is to fill up their bench with support Pokemon so that they don't have enough space for a backup attacker. Similarly, if you fill your bench, you won't be able to use support Pokemon with come into play abilities like Crobat V's Dark Asset, which draws extra cards. Remember, just because a Pokemon is in your hand doesn't mean you have to put it into play.
Tip number 4, keep track of resources. It's important to remember that every card in your deck is a valuable resource. As the game goes on, you'll want to pay close attention to how many of each card you have remaining in your deck. If you only have one attacker in your deck, for instance, you probably don't want to discard it with Quick Ball or Professor's Research. Keeping track of resources can help you decide which cards to discard when you need to, and which cards to save for later. Supporter cards like Bruno and Marnie are great for conserving resources, since they both put your hand back into the deck before allowing you to draw more cards.
Tip number 5, keep track of opponents' resources. Keeping track of your own resources is essential, but it's also important to keep track of your opponent's resources. How many switches your opponent played? How many supporters might they have left? How many energy? Thinking about these questions and finding the answers can help you figure out your game plan.
So what you're saying, Andrew, is that plan might change depending on whether you think your opponent has used all their boss's orders or something, right? I feel like I forget all the time to keep track of my opponent's resources. Is there a way I can check that if I haven't been keeping track of it?
Absolutely, and that's a really good question. If you want to see what resources your opponent has used, you can always ask to see their discard pile, since the discard pile is public knowledge.
Tip number 6, make a game plan. The most common way to win a game of Pokemon is to take all 6 prize cards, and the easiest way to take all 6 prize cards is to make a plan. If your opponent is using Pokemon VMAX, which give up 3 prize cards each, you may only need 2 knockouts to achieve victory. If your opponent is using a mixed strategy, you may only need to knock out 1 Pokemon VMAX, 1 single prize Pokemon, and 1 support Pokemon like Crobat V to win.
Wait. So that means that using boss's orders to target bench Pokemon and take specific prizes is super important, right?
Oh, for sure. Counting out which prizes you plan on taking to win is really helpful when deciding when to use and when to save gusting effects like boss's orders. Changing your opponent's active Pokemon is extremely valuable, so using boss's orders at the right time to take specific knockouts is a champion strategy.
Tip number 7, weigh the odds. Playing the Pokemon TCG is all about probabilities. Before you play any cards in a turn, especially your supporter card, you should always ask yourself, what do I need this turn, and which combination of cards will give me the highest chance of achieving that goal? For example, if the most important thing is to find your hero Pokemon, perhaps think about using a search supporter card like PokeKid instead of a draw supporter like Professor's Research. By asking yourself these simple questions, you'll find yourself weighing the odds and making the right call more often than not. Hopefully you've been paying attention, trainers, because it's pop quiz time.
Ooh, I love pop quizzes! How many Pokemon can you have in play at a time? Is it 5, 6, or 9 Pokemon?
If you said 6, that's right! With a typical board position, you can have 1 active Pokemon and 5 bench Pokemon, which makes 6 Pokemon in play. Some effects, like Eternatus VMAX's Eternal Zone ability, can expand the bench to allow up to 9 Pokemon in play at a time.
Tip number 8, disruption. Winning a Pokemon TCG battle isn't just about executing your own strategy. It's also about keeping your opponent from winning. Disruption cards can be useful for this and come in all different styles. There are hand disruption cards like Marnie, which limit the size of your opponent's hand, and then there are energy disruption cards like Crushing Hammer or Fan of Waves, which can remove energy from your opponent's Pokemon. Disrupting your opponent's energy attachments early on in a match can buy you valuable time to set up, while disrupting your opponent's hand at the end of a game can keep them from having the cards they need to win.
Tip number 9, thinning is winning. Rosemary, that was such a good tip. I can't count how many times I've lost a close game because of a well-timed hand disruption card. It's such a pain. Fortunately, there is something you could do to help you draw better at the end of the game. Thinning your deck. Thinning your deck is a strategy that involves using and discarding cards you no longer need so that you don't draw into them at the end of the game. For example, say you have everything lined up to be able to win on the following turn, but all you need is an energy card. If you have a card like Quick Ball in your hand, then you might want to play that Quick Ball to thin your deck so that you don't draw into it later. Quick Ball is amazing for thinning your deck because you get to discard another less useful card with it when you play it. Remember, at the end of the game, thinning is winning.
Trainers, I hope you're listening up because this last tip is probably the most important. Tip number 10, have fun. Whether you are playing the Pokemon trading card game live or on a tabletop with a friend, there are always lessons to learn and exciting strategies to discover in the Pokemon trading card game. Can't wait for you to catch 'em all. Thank you so much for joining us this season. We hope you enjoyed yourselves and can use these lessons to start your own TCG journey soon. Huge shoutouts to Ellis, Tord, and the whole Top Deck Academy team, and of course to Andrew for joining me for this final episode of Season 2.
Oh, you know I wouldn't miss it for anything, Rosemary. Trainers at home, let us know your tricks and tips for playing the Pokemon TCG in the comments below, and stay tuned for more content from Pokemon on Twitter at Pokemon TCG and on Pokemon's official YouTube and Twitch channels. Thanks for watching.
See ya!